Hi, this is Linda Robert, your solution lady and your coach with some insights. Um, so, this stems back probably a couple of weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks, where I had gone to visit my family and I started looking. Well, my son told me, Mom, maybe you should get yourself another car. And so I went looking around for another car. And when I came home, that weekend, the next day, I decided, because it was still fresh in my mind, that I would go and look for a new car. And I came this close to getting a really fancy looking car. So while that was going on, I remember thinking of, of this car and how it didn't seem to match uh, the way that I am. It didn't seem to match what I was used to driving. The car that I was driving at the time was a lower end Hyundai, and it was becoming rusty. And I had had that car for about six years, maybe 7 years, and I was getting used to driving that car. So when I saw this new car, all kinds of stuff came up. First, it was, oh, wow, this is a brand new car. Well, it wasn't new, it was a 2011, but it was a brand new car for me. And it really, really was a fancier car than the car that I have. And I initially had the feelings of excitement, thinking, wow, is it possible that I could have this car? And then, of course, some negative thinking came in and thinking, no, I can't really afford this car. What am I thinking, of getting this type of car? And I had made a decision at that time when I started looking at the numbers and everything else that no, I wasn't going to be buying this car. But a lot of stuff was coming up. And this is the part that I really want to concentrate on. What was coming up is some grieving. Grieving was coming up because I knew that I needed to get a new car. Wanted kind of was coming in because in the past I had never purchased a new car unless my other car was broken down and really I had no other choice but to buy a new car. So this was going against my normal way of doing things, of getting a car when I didn't really need to have a new car. So there was some grieving going on, and there was some second guessing that I really deserved to get a new car as opposed to maybe waiting until this one, broke down and that I couldn't drive it anymore. And so that's what I wanted to stop here to talk about more is how often do you find yourself hesitating to do something or to be something when it goes against your normal way of doing things? How often does that happen? How often do you stop yourself from doing something because it's simply not part of your normal way of doing things? And so doing something different would make you feel uncomfortable and would start making you feel like maybe you made a wrong decision. But I'm here to tell you that that feeling is a normal feeling. But if you go with it, if you accept that feeling and don't do anything, it doesn't push you to learn. It doesn't push you to change. So I'm going to finish my story now. I ended up by going back to the dealer a week later with another intention in mind of purchasing another type of car, but I ended up by purchasing a very similar car to the one that I'd seen before, but it was a much better deal. And for that whole week while I'm waiting for the car, I was almost like in disbelief that I was going to be getting a car without having to get rid of the other one. And I started feeling grief almost, like letting go of what I knew for the last several years. And that comfort level of driving something that, was starting to look not good because it was getting rusty. So I was almost getting used to that. Anyways, made a decision, got the car, picked it up on Saturday. And initially it was like almost disbelief that that's my car. Um, Almost like now I have to almost be like someone else to drive this car, because the person that I was when I drove my other car was just, how can I say, just so. And now I'm thinking, well, now that I got a newer car, I have to be different. Well, that's a false way of thinking, because at the end of the day, I am who I am. And while it might be true on the one hand that um, I might want to uh, be a little bit different, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. It doesn't make it a bad thing. So it's a question of perception. It's a question of my perception. It's a question of, am I being my real self? Whether I was driving an old car, or an old car that was rusty, or this newer car, I'm still myself. Although I feel better, and if that makes any sense to you, high five for that, because I feel better. It's I feel that I am worthy of this newer car. When I was making that transition between the newer car and this car, between the old car and this car, I wasn't thinking that I was worthy of that car. Kind of crazy thoughts coming into my mind. So old behaviors, old thoughts were kicking in. And so now that I'm driving this new car with all these, fancy gadgets, including warming seats, and I'm using the car here to kind of show, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm using the car as a concept of living your life to the best that you can, and knowing that you're worthy of whatever is presented to you. So if you meet new people, and you go, well, I don't know if I can be their friends, or if you're invited out to certain activities that are really out of the norm, right, really different for you, take a step back and go, what is going on? How come I'm resisting this change? How come I was resisting this new car? Well, I know for myself it was because I didn't think I was worthy of a fancy looking car. I've never done anything like that. So all those older voices were coming in, really full blast almost. So pay attention to what happens when you're presented to newer opportunities. When somebody new comes into your life, and you're noticing that you're hesitant, pay attention to where that's coming from. Pay attention to the voices that you're hearing, the thoughts that you're hearing, and go against those voices. Go against those voices. Now, some of the voices are there to protect you. Well, of course, sometimes we want to be protected. It's our natural instinct to be protected from harm. But a lot of times that little voice isn't making any sense. So by taking that chance and stepping into possibly unknown, possibly fears, and taking it one day at a time, everything usually works out just right, just perfectly. So I challenge you to face those fears. I challenge you to face your perceptions of yourself, and to start making that shift and changing that perception of who you think you are to who you want to be. I hope that makes sense to you. Anyways, this is Linda Robert, helping you find solutions to connect your life For more information on my services, please visit me at www.lindagrobert.com. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye now.